Welcome to #52Needs, and today we are talking about compassion. And I'm so delighted to have with me Kylie Hutchinson, a death doula who takes a holistic approach to end of life to ensure that her clients are living well and dying better. Her aim is to ensure that people plan their end of life journey and that they get their needs met in every way possible. This includes spiritual and mental as well as emotional and physical needs. Kylie is currently enrolled in the world's first end of life doula certificate 4 course. Yay, we need this so badly.
Yes, we do.
Yes. Okay, because we're talking about compassion at work now, but let me just segue into this by going, compassionate death is not as important as a death that is a business. Because there's not a lot of, like, again, keeping people alive beyond what's actually life quality, right? Because that's a business. It's a you can make a lot of money keeping people alive.
Yep. That's a medical intervention to keep people alive longer. There's a lot reason why pharmaceutical companies have a lot of money.
Yeah. So, but that's not what we're talking about. But I wanted to actually raise that and just say, where does compassion start and where does it end? Right? Because work and compassion, really, should that be in the same sentence? And my answer to this is
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, it should be.
Yeah.
And I actually think COVID's shown us that. COVID's been a massive lesson in saying, I can do this job from home and still manage it, and I don't need to come into the office every day.
Yeah.
I can do all the same stuff, and I can do this at home and do it well. And that is compassion. So, you know what, this person can do this at home and manage all the other things that they have to manage while they're at home. Yeah. And that's been a lesson. And even people understanding that they're close contacts, or they're looking after someone with it, or some people were more scared to go out because of their living situation at home. They may be living with an immunocompromised family member, or living with someone who is at further risk because of their conditions. And having that's compassionate work. Yeah. Expecting people to still be able to do these things. Yeah.
And the thing that I notice now is when somebody says, I need a mental health day.
Yeah.
There's no, what do you mean you need a mental health day? Or, like, I need to, what do you call it in Australia? Throw a sickie?
Throw a sickie, yeah, chuck a sickie.
Chuck a sickie, which was basically an excuse to take a day off, which I found was generally not because people were hungover, but because they really needed a breather. Yep. But now it's okay to do that. And I work with companies where people have unlimited holidays. They can do, as long as they do their work somehow, they can do it wherever they want. And, and it's really good. And it makes such a big difference to redundancy or to retaining people, because people leave their jobs these days much faster than they ever did, because they go, this is not working for me, I'm all gone. Because they are just, we have more people on the planet than ever before, but there are so many work shortages.
Yeah. And I've left a job because I wasn't happy. And the boss said, what are you going to do? And I was like, not this.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, people don't want to work these days. No, people don't want to work for you because you're painful. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So how do we show compassion at work? Your boss could have probably said, so what is it that's missing? But in everyday life, how do we show compassion?
I think we need to understand that everyone's got something going on. Yeah. Nobody's life is perfect, no matter how it looks. They may show up to work every day on time with this, full outfit and smile and hair and makeup, and go like, oh, it's fantastic. My life is great. Yeah. And
look at my social media profile.
Yes. Yeah. And meanwhile, sleepless nights and whatever else is going on in them. And yeah. Or you just don't know. Some people are just not willing to share what it is that's happening for them. And it could be health issues, it could be family dynamics, it could be I once was working and had a relationship breakdown. It wasn't going well, and then there was sort of this event, and it ended. And I came to work. We were short-staffed. I came to work. I got it all sorted. I told one friend, and was like, I need to change my living situation. I need to sort this out. I booked myself into an Airbnb with myself and my son for a week, and just went, I've got a week to sort this out. And she just took it on. It was her job to find me a house. And she found me a house. And I went to my boss on Wednesday afternoon. So it all happened on the weekend. Wednesday afternoon, I went to him and said, look, I've had to change my living situation. I just need to list you as a reference for my rental. They're going to ring you to make sure that my job is secure so that I can pay rent. And he was like, what's happened? And I said, oh, no, I had to leave and it was a bit shit. And he was like, right. And so he went down and organised me a fuel voucher and, organised some stuff for me. And then he was like, and why didn't you tell me? And I was like, seriously, this week it's like all this stuff is going on and we're short-staffed. And I said, and he said, you could have just told me. And I said, yeah, well, it wouldn't have made much difference. I would have had to have still got this stuff done. But yeah.
But that's the thing. We are allowed to take our work home, but we're not allowed to take home to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So once I did tell him, he was really good. And, I just said I need a bit of privacy around it, and he didn't mention it to anyone. And yeah, he just let me do it, which was great. And that's really nice. And that's just that little bit of compassion that I won't ever forget, that he was like that he was really good to me about that. And it just takes that little bit to go.
Yeah.
And you know what? I remember years ago, one of the young kids coming into work with his shirt unironed, and I was working in hospitality at that point. And one of the other girls kind of looked at me and she goes, just give me a minute with him, And she pulled him aside and she come back and she said, let it go today. And I said, okay. And I still don't know what happened. He confided in her, but I let it go that today he didn't have his shirt ironed.
Yeah.
Because I was a stickler for it. But that day I was like, whatever happened, let it go.
Yeah.
Go for today. Yeah.
And again, we just make so many assumptions about people and look at what's on the surface, and we never look behind it. Like I just had a situation with somebody, and it's not a necessarily work-related situation, but they were housemates, and she basically told him he needed to move out, but she would be happy to talk about it. And I was like, okay, so telling somebody that they have to move out and then say, let's talk about it, is the cart before the horse, because you've basically already told them that you've made a decision.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, but I was done with him. And I said, is this the guy who just lost his job and custody of his 2 children? And she's like, yeah, he still should have da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, that's, you're not my client, and therefore I'm not going to offer you some different ways of looking at the situation. I'm going to leave that up to you. But there was a severe lack of compassion, because it was all about, and this is the thing, and this is what, again, used to be business. It's all about productivity and functioning and doing this. Yeah. So when somebody doesn't function the way we expect them to, we just tell them to snap out of it and just get back into it. Right? Especially if it's not visible. If somebody is sick, obviously that's a different story. But if it's something that's a mental health challenge, or a breakup of a relationship, or whatever it might be, we should be able to handle that and still be fully functional at work, 110% capacity.
Yeah. I don't know why we think that.
I think that has changed a little bit.
Yeah, I think that mindset is shifting. Yeah. Think people have gotten to a point where they realize that you just and we saw it through COVID. I remember seeing a sign on a coffee shop. It was like a photo that went viral, and the front, it was the sign on the coffee shop that said, we are closed today because somebody abused one of my staff yesterday about not having a special type of milk, or whatever, the milk wasn't hot enough or something, or not having their favorite, just something really stupid. And so my staff were upset, we're all upset, everybody's got stuff going on, we're closed for 3 days. the whole lot. We're all just closed, you know? And I was like, yay. Yeah. I don't even know where that coffee shop was, but I want to go and buy stuff from them.
Yes.
Like, just everyone is. You don't need to take it out on. And I love that sign that you see a lot now in retail places that says the world is short-staffed. Stop being rude to the people who showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I have a client at the moment and found out that her boss, who I coached in the past, now gives everybody to the time leading up to Christmas half a day per week off.
Yeah.
That doesn't come out of their annual leave because everybody is just so overwhelmed that then she says, you need this time. And so we're going to make it work. And because people are much more productive because they've had that time off. And she says, and my client says, I don't always use it to go and rest, you know, but I do stuff that I normally wouldn't get to that I would have to do on the weekend. So it's not so rushed anymore. And I have got more time to leisurely spread it out or spend time with the kids. She was like, after our session, I'm going to go home and play with my kids. You know, and it's great. You know, that's compassion in action.
Yeah. I'm going to get a haircut.
Yeah. Something like that. Whatever
it takes, whatever it is. Yeah. I just had this client that I vigiled with. It was quite an intense vigil and a lot went on and there was a lot. And I feel like, and I kind of am, physically sitting and holding space. Yes. So I'm physically sitting with them. I am holding the space for, you know, the family around them and what's going on and for them themselves. And so for me, afterwards, I want to do physical stuff. And I went a bit nuts. Like I cleaned out the gutters on the house. And I moved a garden bed and I pressure washed the back veranda. And I was like, I need to do stuff. But other people I just want to go home nap. Yeah, they just want to sleep or one lady just spent 2 days at the beach. She said, I just need to go to the beach.
Yeah. As we talked about in the other compassion in life conversation, compassion includes the self. So if we don't do that, then it's really hard to have compassion with others because what it does, it's that recognition that they're doing. If somebody gets what we would like, you know, the care and the attention and whatever it is, and we're not getting that, that leads to resentment. And there's nothing more toxic than resentment. When resentment comes out, it leaks out as passive aggressive, as bullying, as, you know, that's not leaking, that's exploding. But there are all sorts of ways in which that, and so compassion becomes
narky stuff.
Yeah. And so when we do that with ourselves, we build trust with ourselves and with other people. We build connection. And again, there's the sense of reciprocation, right? But if I give, and maybe if somebody's in a place of need, they don't give back, right? Because they can't at that point. Then it becomes the martyrdom. And it's that, you know, my favorite, the tiara,
Poor me.
Yes. So again, when we trust that we can have self-compassion and that people are there to support us in that is actually, that creates an environment of trust and support where people show up, they give more, they want to give more.
And they're able to, it's that village around us. The village around us is able to do it. And just the other day, you know, this vigil was quite intense. So I had a friend send me a message and said, are you still all right? I said, I'm okay. And I'm doing okay, you know, and I'm doing this and doing that. And gutters are all cleaned on the house. And he said, okay. And he said, you know, I love what you do. And I said, I love that you're part of my team. I can't do what I do without you helping me. You know, you've let me vent, you let me cry, you let me, you know, when things are really bad, he'll just be like, and we're going out for dinner. Okay. And we're not talking about it.
And at work, it's the same thing. It's the ability to vent and to have ploms, the poor little old me's, and have somebody just listen. And this is the thing, when we're at work, it immediately gets turned into what can we do to fix that? When the person really doesn't need that at the moment, they just need to be heard. Right. And when people do that and they listen, people often find their own solutions.
Yes. And I mean, I'm a big believer in therapy, and therapists do that. They let you walk and they kind of push you a little bit, and then suddenly you come out with it and you go, oh, like you could probably see that. but I couldn't see that. But I got there myself. Yeah. Yeah. And it's what we, need that little bit of a push. I do really big on saying, I'm just ringing to vent, or I don't know what to do in this situation and I need help and you're my helping person. But, it just reminds me of a conversation I had with Scotty. And he said, men have a box, and they'll be like, you want to talk about tennis? Go get the tennis box, and we'll talk about tennis. And you want to talk about cars? I've got the car box and we'll talk about cars. And then you come at them with a problem and they go, oh, there's a problem. I've got to fix it. I've got a box. I've got a tool for that. I've got a box for that. And you're like, whoa, I just needed to vent. And so I'm really trained myself to say, I'm just ringing to vent. Yeah. I'm just ringing to
absolutely
process this.
I do the same thing. It says I have a problem and I'd like some support, or I have a problem and I just really need you. I need an ear. Have you got that? And that's the thing. That's also compassion, to say to somebody, are you available?
Have you got time? Yeah. Have you got time? Like, yeah.
And that's at work. That's so important, because a lot of people just go into the bosses or the team leaders or whatever, whatever title the people have, and go blah. Yeah. And the person may be just in the middle of something. There's no checking in whether the person actually has the availability to do that. And that's one thing that I always encourage people to say, look, I'm not available right now unless buildings are burning, lives have to be saved, women are in labor, anything that's really, really important, I'll interrupt, of course. But if you wait for 15 minutes, talk about it then. And then work with people to say, again, have some compassion for my workload as well. It's not just me having compassion for yours, but let's negotiate that.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer in saying, time out, when can we schedule time for this?
Absolutely.
If you need a meltdown, and I understand that, but we're going to schedule time for it. And if we schedule time for it before you get to meltdown point, then hopefully we've addressed that and you don't get there.
Yeah.
Build up to here. So I'm, and I've had to intervene in my work even, I'm like, all right, time out. We're not doing this now.
Yeah.
This is not happening today.
Yeah.
We're going to focus on this now. And, that can be a conversation for another day, or we can all just have a think about that and we'll come back to you tomorrow with a decision. We don't have to make decisions about certain things. We don't have to do it today on a lot of things, or we can all just have a little think about it. And but you schedule time for your blah for the dump and the vent and the
absolutely. I used to work in part of my training, I worked as it was a work program. I worked as a kitchen hand while studying. And so the kitchen can be very, very high pressure, especially when you're catering for 350 people every single day, 3 times a day. Mm-hmm. And we had, the people who were there had all studied nonviolent communication and everybody knew how to do things. So once in the morning when prepping was in such a way that the chef would check in and go, how's everybody going? Okay, time for a check-in. Everybody grab a drink of their choice, tea, coffee, whatever, water. And then we would go outside and we would all sit in the circle and we would have 20 people in the kitchen and we would go around and have a check-in. And then saying, what's going on right now, just in a few sentences. And there would be people who would be, were grumpy or didn't want to talk to people. And it was because it was, the cone of silence, basically, was I had a fight with my partner this morning. I'm feeling really out of sorts. That would explain things. But we wouldn't come back into the kitchen and go, oh, can I help you with that? Or anything like that. It was out, it was done. The expectation was also, again, you're entitled to some grumpiness, but you don't throw knives.
Yeah.
Right. So there are limits to how you can express that. And it made for a really comfortable work environment because we all knew we could be authentic. We could share what was going on. We didn't have the right to, to vomit all over everybody, but we were able to, and we were able to be really honest about it at the same time and saying, I'm really not coping. And sometimes it would be, would you like to go home? Would that serve you right now?
Yeah.
And then it would be, yes, actually that would. Okay, go. And there was so much trust and so much connection. And again, I mean, it just reduced stress. And also funnily, what it did is it increased resilience.
Yeah.
People,
Yeah,
people
good.
hold on because they knew they had support.
Yeah. So this person is upset about this thing. So just that little bit extra today is like, okay, I've got you. Oh, here's the thing that you need. Or it's okay, I'm going to grab that from you and I can do your dishes or whatever. I can help you a little bit because today's
that report for you, or I'll take that client for you, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Rather than all the time landing it on one person, just that little bit of like, today I've got you and tomorrow you can have me.
Yeah. So compassion, hey?
Yeah, more of it. Should be more of it.
Yeah.
More
Again,
love.
healthy boundaries. You don't have to sacrifice yourself on the altar of supporting somebody, but and again, the reciprocity is there. If you keep doing something for somebody and they're not reciprocating, then you're probably turning yourself into a victim and a martyr. So think about how much you help before you ask, have a conversation about, hey, I'm always helping you.
And then look at yourself. If you're the one that's constantly running in and rescuing and providing support and being compassionate, and I've got this going on, why? Do you get joy from that? Is that how you validate yourself, by being the one who has given and given and given until you can't get your own shit sorted?
Because that's not compassion anymore.
That's not compassion. That's something else that you need to work on and reflect in yourself.
Maybe not martyrdom, but it's the need to be needed.
Yeah.
There's generally something else behind that. Yeah.
Yeah. And look at that, because we don't need to do that. We can, there's something about the most compassionate people have the strongest boundaries. It's something like, I'm probably misquoting it and I don't know who said it originally, but
I differentiate between caring for and caring about. You care for a child or for a sick person who can't do it for themselves, who can't make decisions because they're incapable or not mature enough yet, but you care about other people and help them help themselves to fulfill their needs. You don't go and rescue them. You don't jump in and to make decisions for them. And a lot of people don't get the difference. They think that making a decision for somebody by going in and saying, again, there's a big difference when somebody has a migraine and saying, you go home and do that is one thing, but saying, you look really bad and I don't think you can handle this, I'll take care of it. That's not compassion.
No. And we see that. That's not compassion. Maybe it's martyrdom,
but it's also, again, there's a little bit of, look, we can talk about that topic alone. Micromanaging, like need for control, mom or dad, like being the parent who wants to you already have parents, they don't need another one. But again, we can talk about that. That's a whole different topic.
We could definitely talk about that.
Yes, but I think we've opened up a lot of interesting topics for people to think about how they get compassion and how they give compassion at work.
Yeah,
hopefully, because that's the whole purpose of these conversations. They're thought starters.
So you do such an amazing job.
Thank you, and it's been absolutely delightful to talk with you. And on that note, thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.